On a street covered with rubble, a group stood firm among the ruins. They were ready to defend their territory. Soldiers nearby panicked as they tried to understand why they could not attack the group. Among the defenders was a girl wearing a witch hat. She asked their leader Adele if she could turn the pigs in front of them into minced meat. A girl in white robes stood beside her along with a boy with pointed ears dressed like a butler. Adele looked at the battlefield with a cold expression and allowed them to act. He had already sworn to protect this land. To do that, he planned to make everyone serve him, even those who were villains themselves. Several years earlier, Adele had been a young boy sitting in a fine room. He smiled while reading a large book. He was the son of the lord of the Reedlick domain. As the future lord, he believed it was his duty to learn everything about his land and the nearby nations. He studied a map that showed the regions around Reedlick. His finger moved along the borders as he named each territory. There was the Ardell's kingdom, Margrave Randhill's territory, and the land of Count Mijur. While staring at the map, a strange feeling rose inside him. He recognized all the names. They felt very familiar, yet he was certain he had never seen this map before. Then the truth struck him. A memory appeared in his mind. He saw himself in another life, sitting in front of a screen and playing a game called Ardell's Miracle. At that moment he understood everything. He had been reincarnated into the world of a game he once played. At first he felt amazed that reincarnation was real. That feeling quickly changed into worry. He remembered the hero of the game, a character named Arkell. When he looked at his own reflection, he confirmed that he did not look like the hero at all. He began to wonder who he had become. He searched his memories of the game, but the name Adele did not appear anywhere. That character had never existed in the story. Not as a friend and not as an enemy. He kept thinking. While the name Adele meant nothing, the territory Reedlick felt familiar with. He was sure the place had appeared somewhere in the middle of the game's story. Another memory soon surfaced. He remembered a minor character in the game mentioning that Reedlick had already been destroyed after an attack by a villain. Shock rushed through him, and he fell to the floor. He had not been reborn as the main character. He was not even an important side character. He was someone less than a background character. He wondered if his world would truly follow the game's main story. Adele never expected such terrible luck. He had been born into a fate of ruin, with no special power and no blessing. His kind parents and everyone in his town were destined to die. His hand tightened into a fist. He refused to accept that fate. He decided he would break that path of destruction no matter what it took. His only advantage was his knowledge of the game, and he planned to use it. He sat down calmly and thought things through. The timeline was 9 years before the game's main story began. That meant he still had time, but he needed more information. First, he had to learn what caused the nation to fall. When he looked at the map, something became clear. His home, the Reedlick domain, was completely surrounded by lands ruled by powerful villains from the game. To the north was the land of death, where demon folk lived who planned to wipe out humans. In the western forest lived the Witch of Calamity, a figure as strong as a final boss. Adele grabbed his head as worry filled him. To the south ruled the cruel Margrave Randhill. In the east was Count Mijur, a madman who cast destructive spells without caring where they landed. Every direction was controlled by overwhelming enemies and game bosses. He was only the son of a minor noble family, someone even less important than a background character. He could not imagine how he would ever face people like them. His thoughts raced as more memories from the game returned. In the backstory, a villain attacked this land and destroyed it. He never learned who did it because the Reedlick family was not important to the plot. The truth finally settled in his mind. He only had 9 years. 9 years before the game's events began. 9 years before the villains made their move. Feeling pressed for time, he traveled north to the edge of the land of death. Just as he remembered, a worn shack stood there. If his memory was right, the person he was searching for lived inside. He reached for the door. Before he could touch it, someone stepped out from the shadows. A hooded figure appeared behind him. A cold blade pressed against his throat and held him still. Adele froze. He could not understand how anyone had moved so quietly. He tried to show he meant no harm in entering without permission. At that moment, he heard a woman speaking from inside and calling for someone named Cain. The boy outside warned her to stay quiet. When Adele heard the name, he remembered everything. Cain Arceus was one of the strongest characters in the game. He was a merciless figure who destroyed countless lives and helped bring ruin to the world. People feared him as the demonic prime minister who ruled the world. Adele believed there had to be a reason Cain fell into darkness. He felt relieved that Cain lived here, just as the game's story had said. Coming here had been dangerous, but he believed the risk was worth it. The game's events would not happen for 9 more years. That meant the future bosses were still children. He still had time to prepare. He still had time to get close to them before they became villains. If he acted without thinking, a death flag would appear. To survive, he could not depend on fighting and defeating the villains. He needed to make them his allies instead. His only way to live was not to destroy those who would bring ruin, but to bring them to his side and use their strength to protect his land. Still, he did not know how he could make them trust him. Young Cain hesitated before opening the door. His mother tried to call him, but she suddenly began coughing badly. Hearing this, Adele understood something was wrong and rushed into the house. Inside, he saw a pale woman with light hair. She gently asked who he was and thought he might be her son's friend. Kane reacted with anger and demanded to know who allowed him to enter. Adele noticed her ears. It became clear that Kane and his mother were demon folk. Just like in the game, they lived in a small shack to hide from humans who would persecute them. Their home was still hidden for now, but it would not stay that way. Humans would soon find it, and they would be forced to run. Kane worriedly told his mother to rest more because her fever had not gone down. Adele remembered what happened in the game. Kane's mother died from illness. After losing her, Kane destroyed the kingdom in revenge. This meant his mother would be the key to gaining Kane's trust. Adele realized he had not properly introduced himself. He apologized and formally presented himself as the legitimate heir to the Lord of Riedrich. This shocked both Kane and his mother. He recalled hearing about her fever. Kane's mother, Mersha, confirmed it. She explained that her fever had never broken, even after trying many medicines and treatments. Her condition only kept getting worse. She apologized in case her illness might spread to him and urged him to leave. Kane looked filled with guilt as he watched her. At that moment, Adele understood what he had to do. He offered to cure her illness. Mersha was shocked and wondered if such a thing was even possible. Kane dismissed the idea and treated it as nonsense. Adele asked if Kane truly doubted him and proposed a bet. If Kane ever discovered that he was lying, he could kill him at any time. Kane was left stunned. Soon after, they went to the dungeon in the northern forest. Kane carried his mother on his back. He felt confused and uneasy about why they had come to such a place. He wondered what they were even supposed to do there. He had expected something like a miracle cure for his mother instead. Mersha reminded him to speak politely to the son of a lord. Adele simply laughed and said it was fine. He looked around, chose a suitable spot and asked Mersha to cast a beginner-level water spell there. Kane grew upset. He reminded Adele that his mother was sick. Adele said that was exactly why she should do it. Kane could not understand what he meant. His mother had been bedridden for a long time and he believed she did not have the strength for anything like that. Adele agreed that she was weak, which was why he asked for only a beginner spell. Kane still felt that was not the real problem. He let out a tired sigh and suggested they return home. He believed trusting a human like this was foolish. Adele then questioned if Kane was running away. His presence suddenly felt different, and he reminded Kane that he had risked his life for this. He coldly asked if Kane would leave without even testing the proposal. Kane froze in surprise. Mersha calmly asked if all she needed to do was cast a water spell. She asked Kane to listen and said she wanted to place her trust in Adele. After a moment, Kane finally agreed. Adele felt relieved. He had worried they might leave without trying anything. Mersha began chanting a spell. Kane watched with concern. Adele told her to release the spell with all her strength. Water burst out from Mersha's magic circle. It poured out in such large amounts that it could have flooded the whole dungeon floor. Kane was shocked. He could not understand why such a basic spell had so much power. He believed it should have been weak and only useful for watering plants. He became upset and wondered what Adele had done to his mother. Adele explained that the reason was connected to Mersha's illness. Kane did not understand what he meant. Mersha then called out to them. Kane's eyes filled with tears when he saw his mother standing on her own feet. Her body felt lighter after casting the water spell, and she did not understand how it happened. As she tried to move, she tripped on a rock and fell onto Adele. She felt embarrassed because it had been a long time since she last stood or walked properly. Adele told her not to worry. Mersha shared that she once believed she would never stand again. She thought her illness would slowly take her life. She never expected to see the day when she could stand by herself. Tears fell as she showed deep gratitude to Adele for helping her. Adele believed he only did what made sense. He trusted the knowledge he had gained from the game and he felt relieved that it worked. But another problem appeared. Mersha was still on top of him, and her clothes were soaked from the water spell. The wet fabric clung to her body and became see-through. Adele panicked. He feared Kane might misunderstand the situation. While trying to move away, he accidentally struck a sensitive part of Mersha's body. The sudden contact made her react loudly. She quickly lost her strength and collapsed against him again. Adele worried that she was pushing herself too hard. He also felt that the situation now looked even more awkward. Kane then called out to him, which startled Adele. Kane wanted to know how Adele could be sure that a simple spell would cure his mother. Adele explained that Mersha had been suffering from mana illness. It was a condition where too much mana gathered inside the body and became poisonous. Kane found it hard to believe such an illness existed, but his attitude toward Adele changed. He felt ashamed of how he had acted earlier. His distrust came from the suffering demon folk had endured because of humans. Still, Adele had helped cure his mother and even risked his life for the chance to help them. Kane knelt and swore loyalty to Adele. Mersha watched with pride as she saw her son make this promise. Adele felt surprised at first, then smiled. He reached out and accepted him, feeling glad to have him by his side. A few days later, Kane served tea to Adele while wearing his butler uniform. Adele thanked him. He had asked his father to allow Kane and Mersha to work at their mansion. Mersha was back in the dungeon, casting water spells as Kane had instructed. Kane still found it strange that there was an illness that would not improve unless someone kept using magic. He realized that meant his mother would never recover her mana no matter how much she rested. Adele explained that mana illness happened when the body recovered more mana than it could handle. The extra mana then harmed the body. If Mersha received no treatment, her life would have been in danger. Kane understood that releasing mana from the body helped reduce the symptoms. He felt amazed by his master's deep knowledge. Adele told him not to give him too much credit. Kane knew he could not explain that it all came from knowledge of a game. Kane also spoke about how Adele hired them even though they were demon folk without showing any bias. He promised to spend his life repaying this kindness. Adele looked pleased. Because of this, the future where Kane would kill him had disappeared completely. With that settled, his next target became the Silent Witch who lived in the Western Forest. 3 months have passed since Adele hired Kane and Mersha. During his free time, Kane trained hard with his sword. Mersha took charge of cooking in the mansion. Her meals were so good that Adele began looking forward to them every day. While eating, Adele remembered that it was time for Mersha to return to the dungeon for her treatment. He also felt the time was getting closer to begin dealing with the Silent Witch. He decided to go with her to the dungeon. Mersha became excited and said she would prepare the lunchbox. Soon Adele, Kane and Mersha headed to the dungeon. This place held a secret. On the deepest floor rested the Silent Witch, Sienna. People believed that anyone who broke her seal would gain great power. Her mana was said to be strong enough to destroy the entire world. In the game's story, Sia had fallen into a trap set by a cruel person. Because of that, she grew to hate humans. Before long, people feared her as the Witch of Calamity. She became a villain, but those events happened only after the game began. Adele still had 9 years before that point. That was why he chose this dungeon to treat Mersha's illness. He also needed to reach the deepest floor before anyone else could break Sia's seal. There was one problem. Mersha treated their dungeon trip too casually. She even set up a picnic on the floor. Adele allowed it since no monsters appeared on that level. He also knew there was no point explaining his future plans yet. At that moment, Kane wondered why they had all come together. He thought they were going deeper into the dungeon. Mersha was surprised to learn it was not just a picnic trip. Adele explained that he planned to explore the deeper floors someday, but for now they would only scout the area. Kane then anxiously suggested that it would be a waste not to go far deeper now that they were in the dungeon. Adele realized what Kane wanted. Mersha then whispered to him about how Kane wanted to show off the results of his hard training, and that was why he was excited to go with them. Adele understood as much. He told Kane that he already saw the efforts he had been putting in every day. Even if Kane didn't get to do it today, he looked forward to the day he showed him the results of his hard work and training. Kane's expression brightened as he agreed. Adele felt relieved. He remembered that a person needed to reach at least level 20 to clear the dungeon. Mersha then asked for permission to begin casting spells, and Adele allowed it. He believed there was still time before the cruel person removed the witch's seal and before she fell into darkness. He was certain that making the witch his ally as soon as possible was the right choice. There was also another reason in his mind. Sia stood out more than anyone else. She had a strong presence and a charm that drew attention. He imagined what it would be like to be close to her. He pictured being held down by someone with a caring but dominant older sister nature while hearing whispers near his ears. Deep inside, he wanted to experience that kind of gentle pampering. Then someone suddenly called out to them. The voice sounded angry and sharp. Adele quickly turned when he recognized it. He also noticed the familiar figure standing before him. He froze the moment he realized it was Sia. She showed clear anger. The dungeon was her home, yet they had disturbed it. Adele could hardly believe she had appeared in person. He wondered why she was in the higher levels. He thought someone might have already broken her seal. He also saw how furious she was. The thought worried him. He feared someone had already twisted her mind and filled her with hatred toward humans. Sia glared at them and showed clear anger. She wanted to know if they understood how much trouble they had caused her. Mersha felt uneasy and wondered what she meant. Sia could not believe they still acted like they did not understand. She decided to make them feel how angry she really was. She cast a powerful fire spell. The pressure from the magic was so strong that it almost pushed them away. Adele realized the situation was serious. Sia's power was equal to that of a final boss. He did not know what to do. Sia was already speaking as if they would soon face the result of angering her. Then Adele remembered something important. He told Mersha to use a water spell on Sia. Mersha acted right away and cast her magic. Adele knew Sia's spells were strong, but they needed time before they worked. Even if Mersha's spell was weaker, it was much faster. He gave the signal to attack. Mersha released her water magic and soaked Sia. Her spell was cut off, and thick fog spread across the area. Adele saw that the counterattack had stopped her magic and also created cover for them. He told everyone to escape while they had the chance, but Sia only grew angrier. She realized who had cast the water spell. The others turned back in confusion when they heard the voice of a child. As the fog slowly cleared, a small figure complained about being soaked. Adele asked who the child was. Sia showed her displeasure and revealed that the child was actually her. She soon noticed that her illusion spell had been broken. Adele did not understand what she meant. With no other choice, Sia admitted the truth. The adult form she had shown before was only an illusion. The small figure standing before them was her real body, the true form of the witch Sia. Adele could not believe it. He thought she would grow into the adult form once she became older, but Sia confirmed that her true form would never change, no matter how much time passed. Adele felt shocked and dropped to his knees. Kane noticed and wondered what had happened. Adele struggled to accept the truth. He had looked forward to meeting Sia, but his hopes had been crushed in an instant. Deep inside, he silently blamed the game developers for deceiving him. Mersha asked Sia what she meant by calling her a nuisance. Sia explained that she was talking about Mersha's water spell. She said she had been submerged in water because they had been blasting water spells in the dungeon every day. Adele told her to calm down. He admitted that they had been casting water spells, but only on the first floor. They had never used them near the deepest floor. Sia agreed that the dungeon had many floors. However, the large amount of water they released every day flowed down from one floor to another. In time, it reached the deepest floor where she lived. She had been taking a nap when the built-up water broke through the walls near the gate where she was sealed. The water filled the area, and she nearly drowned. Adele could not believe that the seal could be affected in such a way. Sia said she barely escaped the rising water and fled to the upper floors. She had been soaked when they first met her. Her anger spread through the area and the magical pressure around them grew heavy. She demanded to know how they planned to make up for what they had done. Kane tried to protect his master. Adele realized that he only wanted to help Mersha, but that choice had caused a serious problem. He doubted that Mersha's water magic would still be useful. He felt that everything was already over for him. Then Mersha apologized to Sia. Both Sia and Adele were surprised. Mersha explained that she had been using water spells to treat her illness. She said they never meant to harm Sia and held no ill will toward her. She accepted that Sia could direct all her anger at her if needed. She only asked her to spare the two boys with her. She lowered her head and begged for mercy. Adele realized that Mersha was right. A sincere apology was what they needed. He stepped forward and took the blame, saying he was the one who ordered Mersha to cast the spells in the dungeon. He lowered his head and swore he never meant to harm Sia. He apologized for the trouble they caused. Kane watched with concern as his master bowed so easily. He then chose to apologize as well for their disrespectful actions. Sia was surprised by their response. Her anger slowly faded and she began to understand that they meant no harm. Adele noticed that she seemed willing to forgive them. He then told her she could ask for something in return, as long as it was within their power to give. Sia showed a strange smile and focused on his offer. Adele suddenly remembered that she was still a dangerous villain, even if she looked like a child. He feared she might demand their lives as payment. He tried to think of a way to negotiate, but Sia spoke first. She said she was hungry and wanted them to treat her to some food. Adele and the others were stunned by her request. Even so, Adele felt uneasy about bringing someone as powerful as Sia to their mansion. Sia simply said she was counting on them. They soon returned home. Sia was amazed by how large Adele's house was. She felt excited at the thought of eating good food. Adele, however, still worried that Sia might lose control and blow him up, leading to disaster. She also noticed how clean the inside of the house was. Adele explained that Mersha and the other maids kept everything tidy. Seeing the grand mansion and the many servants, Sia realized that Adele held a high status. Adele silently agreed. As someone of noble standing, he felt he had to do everything he could to please someone as dangerous as her. Still, Sia did not forget that he had once submerged her along with her room. She expected him to make up for it. Adele hoped that by giving her the best welcome he could, she might forget the water incident and look more kindly on him. It seemed that it would not be easy. Balin, the butler, soon greeted Adele as they arrived. Sia wondered who the old man was. Adele introduced him as the head butler of the mansion. Kane thanked Balin for welcoming them. Adele then asked Balin to take care of their guest until the food was ready. He stressed that she was important and deserved the best treatment. Balin understood at once and assured him he would handle everything. Balin had long served as a butler and had gathered many servants even before Adele was born. His great skill along with Mersha's cooking usually satisfied anyone who visited. Adele hoped that this would finally earn Sia's forgiveness. 30 minutes later, Sia began to lose patience. She grew upset about the long wait. Adele apologized and explained that Mersha was still preparing the meal. At that moment, Balin entered the room and presented Sia with a bouquet of roses, saying it was prepared at Adele's request. Adele felt confused when he saw the flowers. Balin proudly explained that Adele believed beautiful flowers suited a lovely lady. Since she was an important guest, he wanted to offer something special. He even felt impressed that his master had begun learning refined social customs. Adele realized that Balin had misunderstood him completely. He thought Sia would only feel puzzled by the gift. Instead, she reacted with shy embarrassment and a faint blush. She seemed unsure how to respond, yet she still demanded to know where the food was. She accepted the flowers while showing signs of impatience. Soon after, Mersha arrived with a special meat pie. Sia asked about the dish. Mersha presented it as her specialty and also served soup. Sia felt disappointed because she had expected something grander. Still, Adele trusted Mersha's cooking. Mersha helped cut the pie and Sia took a bite. Her expression quickly softened. She found the food warm, soft, and full of flavor. She had never tasted anything like it before. She had never imagined food could be so rich and satisfying. Seeing her reaction, Adele realized something important. He believed she had rarely been treated well all these years. It seemed she had never even enjoyed a proper meal before. Seeing how Sia had eaten so much, Adele believed the hosting had gone well. The mood felt pleasant, so he thought about doing a bit more to entertain her. There had already been food and flowers, but he wondered what else he could offer. Then Mersha suggested taking a bath afterward. She explained that the mansion's bathhouse was very large and said it would help wash away exhaustion. She signaled Adele and even offered to wash Sia's back. Since Mersha kept insisting, Sia could not refuse. Adele quietly told Mersha that he appreciated her thoughtfulness, but he felt uneasy about Sia bathing with her. Mersha thanked him for caring, yet she found it hard to believe Sia was dangerous. She asked him to trust her. Later, inside the bathhouse, Sia became excited when she saw how large it was. She had never seen such a vast bath before. Soon after, she felt embarrassed when she noticed Mersha watching her. She warned her not to try anything strange and threatened to burn her if she did. Mersha felt pleased that Sia liked the bath. She shared that even the servants praised it. Sia felt surprised when she learned the servants used the same bath as their master. Mersha explained that Adele treated them kindly. Still, she also noted that her son had never joined her in the bath, not even once. Sia questioned why anyone would want company while bathing, since a person was most vulnerable while naked. Mersha believed that was exactly why she only wished to share a bath with someone she trusted. Sia found this confusing and thought Mersha contradicted herself. She almost told her she should not have come with her, but stopped when she saw Mersha's sincere expression. Instead, she stood and moved toward the tub. Mersha followed. Mersha apologized again for the water incident, even though it had been meant to treat her illness. She said she never expected a child to be living in the dungeon. Sia quickly rejected that idea. She insisted she was not a child but a mage who had lived for thousands of years. She did not want human labels placed on her. Mersha understood but pointed out that Sia looked about the same age as Cain. To her, Sia simply looked like a very cute young lady. That caught Sia off guard. She reminded Mersha that she was a witch and grew upset, wondering if Mersha truly understood who she was dealing with. She had seen her cast spells, yet she still seemed calm. Mersha admitted that it was true, but she could not help imagining how nice it would have been to have a daughter Sia's age to share a bath with. Because of that, she felt happy spending time with her. Sia did not know how to respond. While trying to gather her thoughts, she suddenly slipped on the bath floor. Mersha watched as she fell into the water and sank under. Mersha soon apologized to Adele, and Adele accepted it without any issue. Sia was sleeping on his lap, and he felt relieved that she was not hurt. He decided to take care of her, so he asked Balin and Mersha to prepare her bedroom. Balin wondered if he should prepare a room for both of them instead, but Adele quickly told him to go and do what he was told. Even so, Adele felt uneasy. He worried that Sia might get angry and end up destroying the whole mansion. He kept thinking about how he could fix the situation. After some time, Sia woke up and tried to understand where she was. Adele explained what had happened and asked if she remembered anything. She slowly got up, still feeling weak and dizzy. Then she became curious about Adele's parents, since she had never seen them before. Adele shared that they were often away for work. Compared to other lords, they did not have much authority, so they usually handled their duties in other lands instead of hosting guests at home. He wondered why she suddenly became interested in his parents. For now, he treated Mersha and Balin as if they were his parents. This surprised Sia, and she reacted strongly. She could not understand how he could see others as his parents when they were not related by blood and were not even of the same race. Adele believed that feelings and care mattered more than blood ties. His words seemed to stay with Sia. Soon Balin returned and confirmed that their rooms were ready. Adele told Sia that her room was prepared and planned to leave so she could rest. However, Sia grabbed his sleeve and asked him to stay and sleep beside her because she still wanted to talk with him. Adele felt shocked and did not know how to react as they went to the bedroom. He lay beside her with a pale face. He kept wondering if she was still upset after their earlier talk. He even thought he might not wake up the next morning. Sia then asked about Mersha's illness. Adele explained that it was a mana illness. It happened when toxic mana built up inside the body if it was not released often. Sia finally understood why he made her cast water spells every day. Adele, however, wondered why she suddenly became interested in Mersha's condition. Sia suddenly shared that she had been sealed in the dungeon before she even understood what was happening. Even so, she had always known her purpose. Her duty was to give power to whoever broke her seal. Adele believed this was part of the backstory set by the game. She explained that every person who released her had been afraid of her power. None of them ever thought of living normally with her. Simple things like eating, sleeping, or bathing together with someone like her were never even considered. To her, those were impossible ideas. After using her power, every single one of them sealed her back in the dungeon. There were no exceptions. She believed the same thing would happen again this time. But Mersha treated her differently. Mersha saw her as someone who could be like a daughter, even though Sia had always been hated and feared as a monster. It was the first time in her 1,000 years of life that anyone had treated her this way. She did not understand the strange feeling growing in her chest. Adele realized that Sia had been alone in that dungeon the entire time. She had only been used whenever her seal was broken. No one had ever tried to know her as a person. Now that someone treated her kindly and even saw her as a daughter, it made sense that she felt confused. He thought about what she must have felt while waiting alone in that dark windowless dungeon for hundreds of years, hoping someone would release her. The thought made him laugh quietly without meaning to. Sia became upset, thinking he was laughing at her. Adele explained that he simply found her adorable. She wondered if he was mocking her. He then asked what she felt when Mersha treated her like a daughter. Sia did not know how to answer. She believed she was only a witch, a monster. Adele believed that it did not matter. He thought she was the only one who could decide what she truly felt. If even a small part of her felt happy, then she should let Mersha know. Sia wondered if she was really allowed to do that. Soon after, she fell asleep. Adele believed he had avoided death that night. Still, he knew danger could return at any time. To stay safe, he planned to keep his distance. But he ended up falling asleep. The next morning, he woke up feeling uneasy. He had meant to stay awake and watch over the witch, but he failed. Even worse, Sia was no longer in bed. He feared she might have done something terrible to Mersha. He hurried to find Mersha. Instead of trouble, he found her calmly sitting beside Sia, eating a light breakfast. The sight confused him. Mersha explained that Sia had invited her to eat together, then left to prepare food for him as well. Adele stayed confused, especially after hearing Mersha call Sia her darling. He could not understand what had changed. Sia then reminded Adele about what he told her the night before about making her own decisions. She had finally decided. She would live in the house with them. Adele felt troubled. He said he only wanted her to decide how she felt about other people. Cain worried about letting someone dangerous live under the same roof. Sia reacted with anger and asked who he meant. Cain pointed to the one who cast a powerful spell the moment they first met. Adele stood there in shock. He wondered if he had truly overcome Sia, or if he never had control of the situation at all. The next morning, Adele enjoyed a cup of tea. He had finally made Cain and Sia, his biggest worries, into his allies. From what he remembered of the game's backstory, there should have been no major conflicts during this time. At last, he expected to enjoy peace for a while. But that peace did not last long. Sia suddenly rushed into his office and urged him to help conquer the deepest floor of the dungeon in the western forest. Adele refused right away. He held tightly to his office table and would not move. He had no intention of going anywhere near the dungeon. Sia believed the water there had already receded, so she wanted to retrieve her belongings from her room on the deepest floor. She also pointed out that Adele had already gone to the dungeon many times before, but Adele explained that he had only ever visited the first floor, where no monsters appeared. He did not want to face the creatures waiting in the lower levels. Sia believed everything would be fine since she would be with him. Adele still refused. He insisted that she did not understand how weak he truly was. After he was reincarnated, the first thing he checked was his status. His magic points were completely gone. Even though he had talent for every attribute, he could not use a single spell. The only option left was to train and slowly raise his stats. But his growth rate was extremely low at only 0.01. Spells that normal people learned in weeks would take him years to master. The character he now possessed, Adele, had always been meant for ruin in the original story. Because of that, the game developers gave him a powerful debuff that made disasters easier to trigger around him. He firmly believed that even low-ranked monsters could defeat him. In every way, he saw himself as nothing more than a weak noble. Anyone like him would not survive the deepest parts of the dungeon. Sia found it hard to accept how openly he put himself down. Still, she had a problem. She had already asked others for help, but everyone else was busy. At that moment, Adele noticed Balin peeking through the door. Balin gave a wink as if encouraging his master to enjoy what looked like a first date. Adele realized this situation was somehow his fault. Sia then insisted that Adele was the only one available to go with her and tried to pull him out of the room. He told her to go alone, but she wanted someone to carry her luggage, and she would not give up easily. In the end, they went to the dungeon. Adele was surprised to find that there were no monsters on the second floor of the underground area. Sia had already mentioned that Mersha's water spells had wiped them out. Adele felt embarrassed. There had been no reason for him to refuse her invitation earlier. Sienna said it would take time before the monsters returned. They soon reached Sia's room. Adele saw that the place was completely cluttered. Sia asked him whose fault it was. He had already apologized many times, and she only laughed and said she was joking. She wanted to search for anything that could still be used, especially her clothes. She felt disappointed when she saw that the books could not be saved. Adele noticed many staffs scattered around too, not just books. He wondered if she even used all of them. She explained that each staff had a different effect. She opened her closet and felt relieved that her clothes had not been ruined by the water. While changing, she explained that the staff Adele was holding improved water magic. It was a magic item that allowed anyone with the right talent to use water magic. However, beginners could only cast basic spells with it. Adele remembered that his MP might be 0, but he still had the right attribute. He realized that if he equipped the staff, he could cast magic. At that moment Sia finished changing into her dress. She felt glad that everything fit properly. She stood in front of him just as he was finishing his magic chant. A shot of water fired forward and struck her. Adele was amazed. He had really cast magic. He never thought he could do it without training. Sia stood, soaked in water, and glared at him. He rushed toward her and asked for the staff. He could not believe such an item existed. He expected Sia to have strong magic tools, but this was on another level. Sia felt surprised and a bit shy. Since he was so eager, she pointed out that the ring near him was also a magic item. It increased the power of healing magic. Adele thanked her. Even though he could use magic items now, he was still weak, but he had found a way to grow stronger quickly. It was time to leave behind the title of the weak noble. A few weeks later, Adele worked hard to flood the dungeon, starting from the first floor. Sia was impressed by his plan. Earlier, she had told him that Mersha's water spell had wiped out all the monsters in the dungeon. That gave him an idea. If he filled the lower floors with water using magic, he could defeat the monsters and gain a large amount of experience points. However, his current magic was still limited. He could not use it many times in one day. Because of that, it took him several weeks to complete the task. During that time, Sia kept reviving the monsters that had died in the water. This allowed him to farm experience points over and over without getting hurt. Sia admired his creativity and his strong determination to reach his goal. Adele believed he succeeded because she helped him. Sia felt flustered, but she did not think praise alone would help him improve. Then a sudden noise came from behind them. A wolf monster appeared, soaked in water with one of its eyeballs hanging loose. Adele wondered if the creature had broken through Sia's barrier. Sia thought she might have made the barrier too weak. Even so, she believed the monster had forced its way through because it had been pushed to its limit. She prepared to eliminate it. Adele stopped her. She was surprised by his reaction. She thought he wanted to defeat the monster by himself. He felt that she had helped him a lot over the past few days, and he had gained plenty of experience. She tried to remind him how weak he used to be. Still, he believed his abilities had improved. He began to cast his spell as the monster charged at him. He fired water bullets and struck the creature. It fell to the ground and stopped moving. He watched closely and wondered if he had truly defeated it. Sia confirmed that he had. He celebrated with excitement, feeling proud that he had grown stronger. He thanked Sia after noticing that his water magic, which had been at 0, had finally increased to 1. She could hardly believe he made such a big deal over a single defeat. Still, if he continued gaining strength like this, he might one day face the villain characters who were meant to bring about his downfall. The two went back home and Adele could not stop smiling. He felt happy with how his leveling was going. He believed he was getting stronger and would one day escape his fate. Then Tame rushed over and greeted him. He apologized for making a sudden announcement. He explained that a visitor from a neighboring country had come to see him. Adele paused as he tried to process what he just heard. Kane said that Balin was already handling the visitor, but the guest wanted to personally show respect to Adele. Adele started to worry. The neighboring lands were known for dangerous people. He did not expect trouble to walk straight to his home like this. He tried to ask who the visitor was, but before he could, a girl stepped forward to greet him. She introduced herself as Freya Rascarte. Adele's face turned pale. This girl was known as the Explosive Saint, Freya. She was the one who had destroyed town after town wherever she went. Freya stood there with a smile. Adele did not understand why the Explosive Saint had come to visit him. He was sure she was supposed to appear much later in the game's story. Her name was not an official title. Only people chosen by a religious group called the Cathedral were allowed to be called saints. Freya had destroyed cities and left ruins wherever she went. Her actions had even caused disasters. Because of this, players started calling her the Explosive Saint. Adele could only think of one reason for her sudden visit. After he became friends with Kane and Sia, the story must have changed. Now the game seemed to be forcing the plot back on track by sending a dangerous force into his territory. Adele returned to his senses when he heard Freya calling for him. She confirmed his identity and showed respect toward him. Adele welcomed her and thanked her for visiting. Balin had already prepared a guest room for her. Adele felt grateful, but he knew he could not turn her away now. He had to stay alert so she would not destroy his mansion. His best plan was to make her leave as soon as possible. They sat down to talk. Freya thanked him for welcoming her even though she arrived without warning. Adele said it was fine. Mersha served tea and Freya drank quietly. To Adele she looked like an ordinary girl. He could not understand how someone like her had gone out of control and destroyed cities. He guessed she hid strong urges to destroy behind her calm appearance. That gentle smile might be hiding anger. He knew he had to be careful with every move around her. And there was another problem that worried him. At that moment Sia called out to Mersha and sweetly asked about the milk and sugar in her tea. She was Adele's other concern. There was a high chance her selfish behavior might offend the saint. If the two clashed, his entire domain could be destroyed. He hoped Freya was very patient. Adele then asked about the reason for her visit. He needed some excuse to make her leave early. Freya explained that she came because of her duties as a saint and wanted to show respect to his land. Adele felt confused. She had never done anything like that before. Yet now she appeared without warning at a strange time and without any notice at all. Sia suddenly asked if Freya had brought any gifts. Adele felt a silent wave of panic when the careless witch spoke in a way that seemed rude toward the saint. He remembered that in the human world visitors usually brought gifts, often food, when they went to someone else's home. Freya apologized because she had been in a hurry and did not think about bringing anything. Adele said it was fine and brushed off Sia's words as nonsense. Sia then brought up how the last visitor had brought very tasty sweets. After hearing that, Freya tried to offer some sweets she had received before. Sia walked over to check the sweets herself. Adele tried to stop her, but he tripped on the table and lost his balance. He fell forward and landed on top of Freko. He tried to apologize right away, but then noticed his hands had landed on her chest. He quickly pulled away. Freka's face turned red. Adele thought she was angry. He bowed deeply and apologized again, believing he had seriously disrespected the saint. Freka told him not to worry about it. Adele felt relieved that she had forgiven him, but he also felt uneasy. He believed he could not afford to make another mistake. As she ate her snack, Sia said she had been thinking about something. She wondered if saints were truly as special as people claimed. Adele panicked when he heard this. He explained that the title of saint was meant to be honored and respected. He believed Sia had asked the question on purpose to stir Freya. He apologized to Freya and said Sia was not familiar with how the world worked. Freya only laughed and said she did not mind. She explained that a saint was a title given only to those approved by the cathedral. Sia then wondered what the cathedral was. Freya explained that it was a religious group that believed in God and wanted to keep the world peaceful just as God created it. They worked hard and made many contributions to protect that belief. Sia said she had never heard of such a group before. Adele felt relieved that Freya was not upset, so he praised her even more. He said she was amazing for being chosen as a saint. He had heard that saints could use healing magic and light magic. He thought she must travel around helping people and easing their pain. But his words made Freya nervous. She did not answer him. Adele noticed the sudden silence and wondered what had happened. He worried that they had upset her without meaning to, so he tried to ease the tension. Frida then explained that she was still training to become a full saint. She traveled to many places to learn more and grow stronger. Adele noticed something strange. Frida's face had stiffened the moment he mentioned magic. He then called Sia aside, wanting to speak with her. Just then Mersha entered the room. She said Balin had suggested that Saint Freya stay for the night since it was already late. Adele tried to object and said Freya might have duties to attend to. But Freya had already asked Mersha if staying was truly allowed. Sia added that the bath was huge and wonderful, and that one could even swim in it. Freya became excited at once. Adele could only stand there feeling drained. Balin then suggested that Adele sleep in the same chamber as the girls. Adele firmly refused and demanded that separate rooms be prepared. Mersha offered to guide them. Sia noticed how defeated Adele looked and wondered why. Later Sia went to the bath alone. She sank into the warm water and let herself relax. But her face showed worry. It seemed she had approached Adele earlier with a purpose. She did not care what might happen next. She felt she had no choice but to hold on to that one thing. Meanwhile, Adele asked Sia if she had done what he requested. She confirmed that she had appraised the saint. Adele thanked her. Earlier, he had noticed that Freya's face had turned pale when magic was mentioned. He believed there was a reason for that reaction, so he had asked Sia to examine her status. Sia wondered what Adele was trying to find. He explained that something about Freya had been troubling him. When he checked her status board, he saw that her light and healing magic both had 0 MP. Instead, she had 3 MP in dark magic. She also possessed a skill called derangement and a title known as loved by a wicked god. Sia questioned why Freya had such unusual stats. She thought Freya might have been devoted to a wicked god. Adele remembered that the cathedral did not worship such a being. He also could not recall any religious group in the game that followed a wicked god. Still, he could not understand why Freya had no MP for light or healing magic, but had higher MP for dark magic. She also lacked any talent for fire magic. Normally, the saint class was given only to people whose light and healing magic had reached a certain level. Adele asked if any dark magic spell could cause explosions. Sia could not recall any spell like that. This confused Adele, since Freya had caused explosions despite having no fire magic. Sia explained that explosions could still happen without fire magic. If someone had 0 MP in an attribute and forced themselves to cast a spell from it, the result could be a powerful explosion. Adele was shocked to learn this. He asked if it was truly possible. Sia admitted she did not really know, since she had never seen anyone with such a condition. Adele remembered that negative attributes had never existed in the game before, and MP had never dropped like that either. Yet Freya kept causing explosions even without fire magic. She had also been chosen as a saint despite having 0 MP for light and healing magic. On top of that, there was the strange presence of a wicked god. From how Freya had behaved earlier, Adele believed she already knew that her status was not normal. If all of this was connected to the explosions, he needed to speak with her directly. The next day, Adele brought Freya to the area around the Land of Death. She wondered why he had taken her so far from the city. He explained that almost no one came to that place, and that was why it was called the Land of Death. The area was empty and silent. Adele told her that this was her chance to share whatever she had been hiding. He intended to keep her secret and tell no one. He wanted to know if something had been weighing on her mind. Freya showed a sad expression. She had not expected him to notice so much. In the end, she admitted that he was the only person she could rely on. She asked for his help. Kane and Mersha watched from behind a rock while keeping an eye on their conversation. Adele wanted to know what Freya really meant when she said she wanted help. Freya explained that she had lost the ability to use magic a few months earlier. When she first received the title of saint, she had been able to use both healing magic and light magic. Adele had already guessed that something was wrong with her magic. Freya had hidden the problem by pretending to be sick for a while. She even kept it secret from the cathedral. But she could not hide it forever because of her duties as a saint. She tried to relearn magic from the beginning. She studied many books and worked hard, but nothing changed. Her efforts showed no results. That was when she heard rumors about Adele. People said the heir to the Lord of Riedlich had suddenly gained the ability to use magic. She came to him with a small hope that he might know a way to help her. Adele finally understood why she had come all the way to his territory. After finishing his own magic training, he had managed to avoid a destruction flag. But his situation was not fully safe. Another doom flag had appeared in the form of Freya herself. He realized that all his effort had only brought him a different problem. Freya wanted him to teach her if he could. She wanted to know what method he used to gain magic. In truth, he had no natural talent at all. The only reason he could use magic was because of the magic item Sia had given him. He did not know what he could possibly tell her. He reached into his pocket and took out a familiar ring. He had received it together with the staff. It was another magic tool that allowed someone to use magic. If Freya used it, she might be able to use healing magic again. But he did not want to give it away. It was a very rare item. He doubted he would ever get another one like it. If he handed it over, he would lose his chance to use healing magic in the future. He stood there unsure of what to do. Freya noticed that Adele felt very conflicted, so she apologized for putting him in such a difficult situation. She promised she would not reveal the method he used to learn magic. She cried and begged, saying she would do anything within her power if he would only tell her how he did it. Adele felt troubled. There was still a chance that Freya might lose control and turn on him. He did not know how he could talk his way out of this while keeping the ring a secret. Then Freya knelt before him. She believed that if things continued like this, she would lose her reason for living. Adele was stunned for a moment. After a while, he let out a quiet sigh and accepted the situation. He understood her feelings. He could not promise that she would be able to use magic the same way as before, but he had a plan. Freya's face brightened with hope. Adele thought that having Freya on his side would not be bad for him. She felt grateful toward him. He then told her to take a magical item. She wondered what kind it was. Nearby, Kane and Mersha kept watching them. Adele explained that it was a magical tool that could raise her magic ability simply by wearing it. Freya was shocked. She felt she could not accept something so valuable from him. Adele believed that if it helped her learn magic again, then it was worth it. He also wanted to remove one dangerous possibility from his future. Freya blushed and could not respond. Adele asked her to hold out her hand. She became flustered and wondered if she could place the item wherever she wanted. He confirmed that she could. Slowly and shyly, she raised her left hand and showed her ring finger. Adele placed the ring on her finger, though he wondered why she chose that finger in particular. Freya lifted her hand and examined the ring closely. She had never received a ring from a man before. Adele felt surprised, then realized that most people would feel nervous about giving an accessory to someone like a saint. Freya smiled warmly and promised to treasure the ring. Adele felt satisfied with that. Deep in his thoughts, he hoped she truly would, since the ring was rare and very expensive. Adele explained that the ring's effect was simple. He believed it allowed Freya to use magic again. To test it, he wanted her to cast healing magic right away. Freya felt confused because no one nearby was hurt. Adele calmly took out a knife and said he would use it himself. Kane's eyes widened in shock. Freya grew worried and thought Adele was about to do something reckless. She tried to stop him, but he told her to stay back because it would be dangerous. Kane rushed out from his hiding place and Mersha also looked uneasy. Adele insisted that if no one was injured, then someone could simply become injured. Without hesitation, he stabbed his own left hand. Freya froze in shock and could not speak. Adele then asked her to try healing him. She did not understand why he had to hurt himself and became alarmed at the sight of his bleeding hand. Adele treated the wound as something small and trusted that she would heal him. Mersha held Kane back, though both still looked worried. Freya remembered the time she failed to use healing magic. She remembered being scolded and looked down on. Fear filled her again as she thought she might fail once more. Adele gently tapped her shoulder with his right hand. He reassured her that everything would be fine and that he believed in her. He encouraged her to trust herself. His words stayed in Freya's mind. Her cheeks turned bright red and she felt a strange warmth inside her. After hearing him, she truly felt that she could do it. She raised her hands over his injured hand. Her face was still red and she tried not to look into his eyes. Her shoulder still felt warm where he had touched it. She wanted to ease his pain. She prayed to the goddess, asking for her blessing upon the person before her. She wished to repay his kindness. Then she cast the healing spell. A bright magic circle appeared before her. Freya stared at it in surprise. Tears began to fall as she realized she could use magic again. Adele also looked surprised as his wound closed and healed. Freya felt overwhelmed with relief and joy. She wanted to believe in Adele completely. She smiled through her tears and felt deep gratitude toward him. Adele simply felt happy that he had helped her. Freya saw how kind and selfless he was. He had given up something valuable and even hurt himself just to help her. She realized how wonderful he truly was. Her heart was completely captured. Adele did not imagine that the girl in front of him had fallen in love with him. His mind stayed focused on something else. He kept thinking about how close he had come to dying. He had never cut himself before, so he ended up cutting deeper than needed. For some reason, Freya had also hesitated to cast her spell, so he had to grab her shoulder to push her to act. No one knew why her magic ability had dropped, but somehow it improved again. At the very least, she no longer caused explosions when she tried to use healing magic. Adele knew that her success had helped him survive, but he had no desire to go through that kind of pain again. Still, the danger had not fully disappeared. She could still cause an explosion if she tried to use light magic. In truth, the threat had not completely gone away. Adele explained that if she kept casting healing spells the same way she had earlier while wearing the ring, her magic ability would slowly rise again. Freya felt surprised when she heard that. Adele believed that repeating the process was important. He wanted her to return to the cathedral because he simply wanted her to go home. But Freya did not listen. She believed he planned to help train her by cutting himself again and again until her magic ability reached a safe level. Adele felt shocked by this idea. That had never been his intention. He tried to correct her, but she had already drifted into her own thoughts. She turned red, convinced that he was willing to suffer for her sake. Adele wanted to explain that she had misunderstood everything, but it was too late. Freya had already reached her own conclusion. She faced him with strong resolve and decided she would not waste what she believed was his kindness. She planned to follow his guidance over and over, even many times, until her mana ran out. She urged him to hold the knife again and even offered to cut him herself. Adele could hardly believe what was happening. He wanted a break from all of this. But Freya moved forward once more and struck again, driven by what she believed was love. Soon after, Freya said goodbye to Adele and thanked him for all his help. Adele said it was fine, though he looked exhausted. He was just glad to be free from her finally. Freya then remembered the time when she could not use magic. She said it happened around the time she met a certain person. Adele asked who it was. Freya said it was someone the chief priest had introduced to her. But all the clergy said they did not know them. She hardly remembered anything about that person. She thought Adele might believe that person knew something about her magic problem. He thanked her for the information. He did not think the cathedral itself caused his troubles, but he would keep it in mind. Freya could use magic again now, so she had no reason to visit him. He could finally have some peace. Before she entered her carriage, Freya turned back and shyly asked if it was okay to visit him again. The adults understood what she meant. Adele looked pale and tried to refuse, but Balin happily invited her to come anytime. Freya was glad and promised she would return. She rode away in her carriage. Balin was excited and said he could not believe his master was getting close to a saint. Adele stayed frozen. While the adults talked about their young master's love life, he remembered the times when Freya practiced her healing magic by stabbing him with a knife. He had developed PTSD from it. He collapsed from shock. The stress hit him so hard that he slept for a whole week after that. While they were traveling on the eastern road, Sia asked Adele if they had already reached his destination. Adele said they were almost there. Sia complained because he had been saying that for a while. She said she was already getting tired. Cain pointed out that Sia was being impatient. Sia got angry and asked who he was calling a child. Cain told her to be quiet and said that if his master said it was a little further, then it really was close. Adele paused and told them to look ahead. He pointed into the distance and said he could already see it. He explained that it was their destination for the day, a bandit hideout. A few days earlier, Adele had shared his plans with the others. He said he was thinking about going east. They were sitting together and drinking tea that Marcia had prepared. Cain asked if Adele meant going toward Margrave Landhill's territory. Adele said he did not plan to go that far. He reminded them that the Rydlick territory was small and had weak defenses. If a conflict broke out in nearby lands, they would be the first to fall. There was also a chance that another strange event like the explosive Saints attack could happen again. Just thinking about it made him uneasy. Being careful based on what happened in the game would not be enough. They needed to be ready to handle whatever might happen. Adele then announced that they needed to improve their military strength first. Sia agreed but asked what that had to do with going east. Adele explained that hiring regular soldiers would cost money and attract attention. It could also make nearby nobles suspicious. Because of that, he decided to focus on bandits. He had learned that a group of bandits was hiding past the eastern road. His plan was to recruit them and hire them as mercenaries. He could not explain that he knew this from a game. If things had not changed, a certain villain he knew should have been at that hideout. If he managed to recruit that person, It would not only strengthen their forces, but also help them deal with future risks. He felt proud of his plan. However, Kane doubted they could hire bandits. He pointed out that bandits were people who lived by stealing instead of working. Adele agreed that there would be some conflict. Because of that, he said he would rely on Kane to protect them when the time came. Kane felt moved and asked if he was truly being trusted with that role. Adele said that Sia would do the same. Sia said he would handle it. As for Mersha, Adele asked her to stay behind this time. She was surprised and worried about the children going without her. Adele said he understood her concern, but he wanted to avoid drawing attention. He also said that Sia's magic would help if anything happened. Kane then told his mother not to worry, saying he had the sword skills that Balin had taught him. He felt excited and told Adele to leave things to him. Adele was surprised by Kane's enthusiasm and thanked him. Mersha finally agreed and said she would prepare a packed lunch for them. Theo wanted to thank her and remind her that this was not a picnic. Mersha then asked if they had any food requests. Sia asked for meat pies. Back in the present, Kane asked if it was really a bandit hideout. Sia said the place looked too empty to be one. Adele remembered that in the game the area had more fields and looked like a village. He thought it would develop over the next 9 years. Suddenly, bandits showed up. They complained that pursuers had already found them. When they looked closer, they realized the group was only made up of kids. They felt embarrassed for reacting too quickly. One of them wondered why kids were in such a place. Sia questioned being called a kid. Kane asked if these were the bandits Adele had mentioned. Adele said it seemed so, but he only saw 2 of them. One bandit told them the area was dangerous and not meant for kids. He warned them about monsters and told them to go home. His partner stopped him and pointed out the clothes the group was wearing. The kids were dressed in fine clothing. The bandits realized they were dealing with a noble and his servants. One of them suggested capturing the group and asking their parents for ransom. Kane grabbed the handle of his sword and prepared to protect his master. The bandits drew their swords and gave a brief excuse. They said they needed money to survive. They told the group to cooperate and promise not to hurt them. They said the group should blame their parents for being nobles. Then the bandits attacked. Adele did not want things to get violent, but he ordered Kane to stop the men without killing them. Kane rushed forward and made a wide vertical slash. The bandits stepped back. They were shocked to see a child use a sword that way. Kane moved fast and knocked out one bandit in a single strike. Adele felt surprised. He knew Kane trained with a sword every day, but he did not expect this level of skill. He saw signs of the future villain who would push human nations close to destruction. The last bandit tried to fight back, but his attacks did not land. Kane avoided each strike and then hit him with a counterattack. Adele did not expect Kane to become this strong. He praised him with excitement. Kane's face changed from cold to childlike. The bandits on the ground could not believe they lost to a child. They did not think he was that strong. More bandits came out of the houses. They heard the noise and asked what was happening while their leader was away. Sia noted that the men had others inside. Kane said the number of enemies did not matter. The new bandits could not believe that the ones outside had been beaten by children. They laughed and called them useless for losing, even with a small girl present. Sia became angry when they called her a child again. Her anger rose and magic power flared around her like flames. She demanded to know who they were calling a child. Adele's face turned pale as he saw Sia change into her mature form. Sia pushed her chest forward and challenged the men to call her little after seeing her grown form. The bandits stared in shock. They became excited and wondered who the woman was. They were amazed that she had changed her form with magic. Adele could not believe what he saw. He realized that Sia used an illusion to look older because she did not like being treated like a child. The bandits kept praising her. Sia felt pleased that they noticed her looks. She teased them and moved her chest in front of them. The men grew more excited. Sia then smiled and cast a spell called Ivy Whip. Roots burst from the ground and slid toward the bandits. The roots grabbed their ankles and lifted them into the air. They hung there, unable to move. Sia laughed and said that even with their numbers, this was all they could do. The bandits shouted at her and told her to let them down. Sia told Adele that the bandits were weak since they lost to a kid like Kane and also to her. Kane reminded Sia that she was also a kid without her illusion. Sia insisted that she was not a child but a witch who had lived for thousands of years. Adele tried to calm them, but a man appeared. He had a scar on his left cheek and asked what had happened while he was gone. The bandits cheered and cried when they saw their leader return. Adele felt shocked when he saw the man. The man looked at the situation and wondered if they had been caught in a monster trap. Sia asked who he was, and guessed that he was with the bandits. The bandits admitted that they had been defeated by the kids. The man looked surprised for a moment, then glared at Adele and the others. He swung his sword and cut the roots, holding his men in one strike. Sia felt surprised that her magic vines were cut so easily. Kane asked if the man was the leader of the group. Adele confirmed it. Kane felt confused, while Adele believed that this man was their main target. The man was named Randell. Kane suddenly noticed a man rushing toward them. He raised his sword to block, but Randell added a kick to the attack. The force sent Kane flying into a nearby tree. Randell could not believe his men had been defeated by a group of kids. The bandits apologized. Adele remembered how Kane had been winning the fight earlier, yet Randell defeated him with ease. He realized the man's strength was far beyond theirs. He wanted Randell on his team no matter what. Randell then turned to Adele and asked why they had come to their base. Adele remembered that Randell had once served as a knight of the kingdom. After seeing the corruption among the nobles and how the people suffered because of it, he left the knight order and became a bandit. Adele chose to be honest. He said he believed the man in front of him was Sir Randell, a former member of the Royal Knight Order, and that he had come to meet him. Randell was surprised and quickly held the hilt of his sword. He became alert and asked what Adele meant, and whether he was working with the kingdom. Adele denied it and said he had come to hire them as mercenaries. This shocked Randell and his men. He removed his robe and introduced himself as Adele Rydlick, the son of the lord of the Rydlick domain. He said that Randell's sword skills were known even in his land. Instead of acting like a bandit on the roadside, he wanted Randell to work for him. The bandits looked at their boss with concern. Randell said that Adele must have known why he left the knighthood if he already knew who he was. Adele stayed silent. Randell then said there was no way he would serve a noble after what had happened. He explained that nobles collected taxes in the name of helping people, but only used the money for themselves and lived in comfort. He said nobles were all the same. Adele could not respond. Randell continued and said nobles never thought about the sacrifices of the people or how hard they worked to earn their money. He had not trained his sword skills for people like them. He said he wanted to kill every noble with his own hands. He told Adele to leave and go home if he understood. Adele did not know what to say. He had not expected Randell's hatred for nobles to be this strong. He realized he might fail to recruit him, even after coming all this way. In the end, he failed because he was a noble. One of the bandits spoke quietly to Randell and asked if it was really fine to let the kids go. He said these ones seemed different from the nobles they knew. Randell told him to be quiet. He said he was already tired of dealing with nobles. Kane went to Adele's side. Adele apologized and asked if he was hurt. Kane said he was fine. Adele then suggested that they go home for now and try again later. A loud roar suddenly echoed through the area. Everyone turned toward the nearby woods where a monster appeared without warning. Adele did not expect a high-level monster to show up in that part of the mountains. Then he remembered that Randell had been hunting monsters earlier. He assumed the creature was drawn by the smell of blood on Randell. Randell understood how serious the situation was. He told the kids he would handle it and warned them to run if they wanted to stay alive. Kane urged everyone to run away. Sia said she could use magic to blow the monster away even if it meant the bandits might get caught in the attack. Adele told them to wait. He smiled as he looked at Randell. The man who had spoken about killing nobles was now risking his life to protect one. Adele saw this as a chance to convince Randell to join him. He told Kane and Sia to get ready, as they were going to help Randell. Kane felt confused when he heard that. Sia stood still and waited. Kane said it was dangerous and reminded them that the bandits had tried to take them hostage. He believed they did not need to risk their lives for those people. Adele agreed and said they had no duty to help them. Kane felt relieved. However, Adele said that if someone was in trouble right in front of him, he could not ignore it. He asked if that reason was not enough. Kane felt moved and said he should apologize. Adele felt glad that he had convinced Kane. Randell was important for Adele to avoid his destruction flag. Adele then told everyone to work together and defeat the monster. He took out his magic staff and promised that he would not let Randell die. Kane became serious. Sia said she had no choice but to help. At the front line, the monster growled as it looked at the bandits who stood frozen in fear. They wondered why such a monster was in that place. Randell looked scared as well. He knew the monster was a boss-level creature in the region and should have been deeper in the mountains. He could not understand why it had come down. He looked at his men who were shaking and pale. Randell decided to fight and told them to fall back since he would face the monster alone. The huge bear-like monster with horns roared loudly. The bandits were shocked, but they still found the courage to charge forward with their swords. They believed the monster could not handle all of them at once. Randell told them to stop. The monster then swung its right paw, and long claws struck out. Randell ran forward and pushed one of the bandits aside. He took the hit instead and grunted in pain. The bandits called out to him in worry. Randell held his ground and fought back with a wide slash. His attack cut the monster's paw, and it began to bleed. The bandits gathered around him and apologized for making him protect them. Randell, now injured, told them to run while they still could. They tried to help him, but he told them again to leave. Some of them were already crying. Randell touched his wound. Even with his chest plate, the attack felt deep, like it reached the bone. He could not believe it. At that moment, the monster moved toward him. Randell knew his last attack had angered it. If he had been in better condition, he might have stood a chance, but this monster was stronger than any he had faced. He clenched his teeth in frustration and accepted that this might be the end. He had not kept his promise to a girl named Kate. A memory of a young girl swinging a wooden sword appeared in his mind. The monster moved in to finish him. Then a bullet made of water hit the monster's left eye. Someone had cast a spell and the attack struck directly. The monster cried out and writhed in pain. Randell looked behind him and saw Adele. Adele was glad he arrived in time. Randell felt anger and asked why Adele had not run away as told. Adele did not understand and said he could not leave someone to be attacked by a monster right in front of him. Randell had no answer. Adele then asked if Randell was okay. Suddenly, the monster glared in his direction. Adele felt scared and wondered why it was looking at him. Sia explained that Adele had drawn the monster's attention to himself. Randell remained frozen in shock. He thought about how the nobles he knew usually ran away in situations like this. He did not expect a noble to stand and protect a commoner like him. Cain then rushed forward and told his master to step back. Adele felt relieved to see him. Cain attacked the monster with a series of sword strikes and each one landed a direct hit. Adele praised him and asked him to keep holding the monster off while he prepared a magic spell. Cain agreed. Randell could not believe that a noble was willingly fighting on the battlefield. Cain tried to defend against the monster's attack and blocked its right claw with his sword. Adele warned him as the monster moved to strike with its left claw. Cain closed his eyes, but Randell quickly stepped in and blocked the attack with his own sword. He reminded Cain not to lower his guard. Adele was surprised to see Randell fighting alongside them. Randell explained that he could not just stand by and watch, so he joined the fight. He then pointed out that Adele would not last long with his injuries and urged him to quickly use a strong spell to finish the monster. Adele stayed frozen for a moment. He wondered if he could truly defeat the monster. The strongest spell he had used earlier, a water bullet, only distracted the creature. He did not think it would be enough to end the fight. He began to think about what he should do next. Sia complained that Adele had been difficult to manage. Suddenly, Theo felt a surge of power flow through his body. Sia had cast a magic spell on him without chanting, and she told Adele that because of what she had done, he would be able to use magic at a much higher level. Adele then used a water magic spell called Wave Fang. The attack struck the monster directly and it fell to the ground with a loud thud. Theo looked nervous and asked if they had truly defeated the monster. Sia asked what was wrong. Theo trembled with excitement and said that Sia's magic had been impressive. He did not expect someone like him who was weak to be able to bring down such a strong monster. He also thanked her for giving them enough time. Randell looked shocked. He had expected that a young person could defeat a monster, but he could not believe that a noble was thanking his servants. He remembered that one of his men had said Adele was different from other nobles. Randell thought about this for a moment before calling out to Adele. He recalled that he had once wanted to hire him as a mercenary. He reminded Adele that he had been a knight who left the Knight Order and was now a wanted man in the kingdom. He also had gained the anger of some nobles for stealing away their money and valuables as a bandit. Even with those risks, Randell asked Adele if he still wanted to hire someone like him. Adele tried to answer the question, but the other bandits interrupted him and asked him to wait. They said it was true that Randell had stolen money and valuables, but only from corrupt nobles, and that he did it to help people living in poverty by sharing what he took. They also said Randell left the kingdom because he wanted to build a place where people could live with dignity. They believed their boss should not be treated as an ordinary bandit because he was a remarkable person. The bandits then knelt before Adele and asked him to hire Randell as a mercenary. They pleaded with him. Randell was surprised to see them behave this way. Adele asked them to raise their heads and made it clear that his decision to hire them had not changed, even if they had not asked for it. He acknowledged that bringing them in could attract attention from the kingdom and certain nobles. However, since they were in a remote area, he believed they would not be noticed. He also felt confident that even if the nobles became aware of them, Randell would be able to deal with them easily. This surprised Randell, who had once been a knight. Adele understood that Randell could not accept nobles who ignored the people and the world they ruled. He then expressed his intention to show them a place where people no longer suffered under corrupt leadership. He reached out and invited Randell to join him if he truly wanted to help the people. Randell was left in silence, finding it hard to believe that someone so young spoke with such sincerity. He asked for confirmation of those words and made it clear that he would leave right away if he discovered any dishonesty. Adele responded by telling him to leave at any time if he ever became like the nobles he disliked. Randell accepted the offer and finalized the agreement with a handshake, reminding Adele not to forget his promise. Meanwhile, one of the men congratulated Randell. The others gathered around Sia and began showing interest in her. They asked for her name and referred to her as an older sister, assuming she was Adele's sibling. Sia reacted playfully by drawing attention to herself and teasing them. The men responded with interest as they focused on her. Adele then told her to stop teasing them since they were now allies. The men asked what he meant by that. Sia responded briefly and then returned to her childlike appearance. Adele apologized to them for raising their expectations. He explained that the mature appearance they had seen earlier was not her real form, but a disguise created through illusion magic. The men were surprised by this and found it hard to believe. Adele also reflected silently on his own experience, as he had been affected by the same illusion. He then instructed everyone to prepare to leave, as it was time to head toward the Rydlick territory. Soon after, Adele and the others returned home. He introduced his territory to Randell and the rest of the group. A bandit wearing a bandana remarked that the town felt calm and easygoing. Randell tried to scold him, but Adele treated the remark as a compliment. Seeing the men in hoods, Adele felt relieved that Randell had joined them despite unexpected events. He remembered that he had once said he wanted to show a world where people no longer suffered because of corrupt nobles. At the same time, he understood that he would not be the one to lead that change. He believed that the role belonged to the original protagonist. He also recalled that at the end of the original story, the corrupt noble system had been removed and the world had become peaceful. Because of that, he decided to avoid the dangers tied to his fate and stay hidden until that future arrived. For now, he depended on the protagonist's group, whom he had not yet met, for his survival in this world. He also thought that the Kingdom Knight Order, which had been chasing Randell and the others, would not reach his frontier territory anytime soon. Adele then focused on what to do next after returning home. Suddenly, he noticed a group of unfamiliar armored men standing in front of his mansion. Randell became shocked. He recognized their armor as belonging to the Kingdom Knight Order and questioned why they were there. Adele also froze in surprise, his expression filled with confusion.